Hello there, my name's David Allen. I'm a master of wine and I'm here in Bordeaux at the moment tasting the 2025 en-primeurs. So I'm in Pomerol and I'm at L'Eglise Clinet. So this is an en-primeur sample of their 2025 vintage. So a wine I feel incredibly privileged to be tasting with you, sitting here in their tasting room, and across the way, through the window, I can see the church here in Pomerol. So the vines here are right in the heart of the plateau of Pomerol, next to many of the other best-known names of the region. So being Pomerol, the wine is predominantly Merlot, 90%, with 10% of Cabernet Franc. Looking at it, there's a fantastic, deep, dark, vibrant, almost impenetrable colour there, purple, ruby. Swirling the wine, it has 14.5% alcohol, and it is fairly naturally clinging to the glass. The aromas are rich. This is a wine that will carry on aging in 75% new French oak. And there really are plenty of notes of sweet spice, hints of coffee, all overlaying the rich, dark berry, dark plum fruit that comprise the lovely, rich aromas. Everything feels as though it's been absolutely condensed in here, almost as a cake of rich fruits interlaced with lovely sweet baking spices. There are some lovely top notes to the perfume, almost blue fruit, blueberry, really ripe dark cherry, those sorts of aromas. So let's have a taste. The wine is rich and concentrated. At the same time, there's a lovely freshness to the acidity that's enlivening this fruit. Without the acidity, this would seem dense, drying, and closed. Instead, there's a vivacity to the fruit. I'm seeing notes of beautiful sort of purple damson perfume, dark, high ripeness plum, notes of things like bullace with its high acidity, and a real acidic crunch to the finish, where there's an interaction between these plentiful, fine, supple, almost chalky tannins. Tannins are giving some good grip, and they're so concentrated that they are rather closing up the fruit. Having said that, there's no overt bitterness or astringency to them. They really are supple, much more on the chocolatey, maybe slightly dusty notes to the spectrum. And continually, as you try the wine again and again, the acidity almost has to push its way through this dense fruit and ends up giving you a lovely, almost blue, purple fruit note on the finish. Again, I think some lovely sort of piquant damson perfumes to finish with. Clearly, this is clearly a wine whose density, concentration, and acidity are setting it up to age well. The new oak I talked about, quite a high proportion, 75% of new oak being used for aging, is incredibly well melded with this concentrated fruit. It doesn't stand out separately. The alcohol, as I say, 14.5%, doesn't seem hot, but is adding roundness to a rich, full palate, and is doing something to draw some of those sweet spice notes out of the oak and onto the finish. This is a fabulous wine with wonderful concentration. In terms of scoring it, I think this is a wine that scores at least 96 out of 100. And I also think that there's a potential for it to age incredibly over the next 3 or 4 decades, and that the wine will almost certainly exceed that rating during the time. So thank you so much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed the video. It would be great if you could press the like button. I'll of course leave a link to the winesearcher webpage for this vintage of this wine. And if you're thinking of buying en-primeur, do use those pages. They're incredibly helpful in terms of giving information about a wine's pricing history from previous vintages and current pricing and availability. And you'll be able to see from that where the wine becomes available, where the wine has been sold previously, if you want to get in and try and make sure that you get an allocation. And it'll give you the opportunity to compare prices as well. So I'm going to be here throughout the en-primeur campaign, tasting as many wines as I can. So do please make the time, come and join me again sometime in the future, find out how I get on. But until then, bye for now.